How'd it go?
Well, I'm not too happy about him. I'd like you to have a look at him.
Yes, all right. Who is he, do you know?
His name's Constance. He looks like a foreigner to me.
Mm-hmm. Where'd he come from?
I haven't the slightest idea. He's been staying at the Hotel Seton in Southampton Road.
Will you wait, please?
Ask them to wait a minute and we'll take it on the other phone. Sister, there's someone inquiring from the outside about Constance. Take it and, you know, some anxiety.
Hello?
This is Hotel Seton, Southampton Row. Mr. Constance has been staying with us. We just heard about the accident. Is it serious? I see. Is he conscious? When do you think he'll recover consciousness? You'll be able to tell better in the morning. All right, we'll ring you then. No, please don't bother. We'll ring you. Good night.
He's had a transfusion.
Yeah.
Any suggestions?
Yes. A penomycetin injection.
Penomycetin? I thought you were still only experimenting with the stuff.
Yes, we are, but it's a wonderful stimulant. It's the best I've ever experienced. Might as well try it in his case.
Bit of a risk.
No more risk than sitting here and hoping for the best.
All right. Give him until 12. If there's no improvement by then, I agree to a penomycetin injection.
All right. All right, sister?
Yes, sir.
Well, Johnny. See you about 12, then.
Look what my dad sent me.
Oh, say, that's a pep, isn't it, eh?
It's a three-corner Cape of Good Hope. It's very rare.
It's much better than the one I've got.
We ought to have a special ward for stamp collectors. A mental ward.
And look at this one.
You can carry on now with your daily routine. No more of those dizzy spells?
No, well, I wouldn't expect him here.
Why not?
Oh, for the last fortnight, I've lived on orange juice and water.
And you look 10 years younger for it.
Oh, go on with you. Anyway, I'm ever so grateful
Thanks.
to you. You made a big difference to me. When I think of that other quack I used to go to, sticking needles in me all over the place. I said to him one day, what is this, a game of darts?
Well, you just look after yourself once you get out of here, and you'll be perfectly all right. Yes, sister?
You're in trouble, Mr. Fenton.
Oh?
You're wanted by the police.
Uh-oh, what have you been up to?
There's a detective inspector waiting to see you in your room.
Can't you slip out the back way?
His name wouldn't be Detective Inspector Bellamy by any chance, would it?
It would.
Could be worse. Just my brother-in-law.
Well, I never. Some people do have funny relations.
Sorry. George.
Oh, hello.
Nice to see you. How's Jane?
She's fine.
Good.
You're in no bad books, sir.
Oh, dear. What's the trouble now?
You haven't been near us for weeks. She puts it down to your secret vice.
Which one?
Stamp collecting. To see you even bring them here.
They help him to relax.
Relax.
It's quite true. You need to in this job.
And this extensive foreign correspondence. All in your own handwriting.
I'm sorry. There's nothing mysterious about it. Whenever a foreign country brings out a new issue, I just send off a letter, enclosing an envelope addressed to myself, stamp it, and post it back.
I'll be in Ward 2 if you want me, Mr. Fenton.
Thank you, sister.
Oh, before you go, sister. Do you know anything about a patient here called Constance? Charles Constance?
We both do. I operated on him.
So I gathered. Is he conscious yet?
No.
Is he ever going to be conscious?
It's touch and go. We may know more tonight. Why?
We can't get a line on him. No one seems to know anything about him.
Well, can't the Hotel Seton help?
He'd only been there a couple of days.
But they rang up. I gathered he was well known to them.
Well, actually, sister, no one from the hotel telephoned this hospital.
But I spoke to them myself.
We traced that call. It came from a public call box.
A call box.
And from what we can gather, it looks as if the driver of that car deliberately ran Constance down. That's why we want to have a talk with him, as soon as he's conscious.
Yes, he's in Ward E, third floor. Take the lift.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Mr. Collins. I believe he's in Ward 4. That's right, sir, yes, Ward 4. Same again. Take the lift.
Thank you very
third floor.
I want to see Mr. Constance, please.
Mr. Constance. Oh, I'm very sorry, madam, but he's not allowed any visitors.
Not allowed? What do you mean?
He's not well enough.
Is he unconscious?
I don't know, madam, but he can't have any visitors yet.
But I must find out about him. Who do I ask?
Well, maybe Dr. Fenton could tell you, madam. He did the operation.
Well, where can I find him?
You'll have to make an appointment, I'm afraid. Yes, sir?
I've come to see my mother, Mrs. Johnson, please.
And you'll let me know when Constance is well enough to make a statement?
Certainly. He was probably running away from a girlfriend. And the man in the car was her father.
Brilliant. That explains everything, including the girl in the telephone box. Well, that's your pigeon to fill in the details.
You're the detective.
Mr. Fenton,
Yes?
can you please spare me a moment? They said downstairs I had to make an appointment, but, well, I had to see you.
Well,
I shan't keep you a moment.
Well, give me a ring tomorrow, Mark, and let me know how you get on.
yes, Do sit down. You know, I don't usually see private patients unless they've been sent to me.
But I'm not a patient.
Oh?
I just wanted to ask you something.
What can I do for you?
You operated on a man called Constance, Charles Constance.
Yes?
Is it serious?
Is Mr. Constance a friend of yours?
Yes.
A close friend?
He's a friend of mine.
Is that why you came to see me, just to ask about him?
Yes.
But you could have inquired at the desk. That's the usual procedure.
I did inquire at the desk, but I wanted to know the truth. Is he going to get better?
I'm sorry, but are you a relative?
I told you I'm just a friend.
Well, you see, Miss...
Freeman.
You see, Miss Freeman, you're not the only person interested in Mr. Constance.
Who else is?
The police.
The police? But why?
Well, for one thing, they're not absolutely certain that his accident was an accident.
I see. Is he conscious?
No.
If he does recover consciousness, would you be very kind and give him these flowers?
Certainly.
He'll know who they're from.
And your address, well, in case he should want to get in touch with you.
I've only just arrived in London. I don't know where I should be staying. May I ring you in the morning?
Of course. Extension 79.
Goodbye, Mr. Fenton. You've been very kind.
Not at all. I'm only sorry I haven't better news for you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Sister tells me it was you who operated on me. I want to thank you. I'm a very lucky man to have found such a good doctor.
Thank you. Are you feeling well enough to answer a few questions?
Certainly. Sister tells me I'm what you call it, a man of mystery.
You certainly are. But the police are in this because of your accident.
I understand.
The car that knocked you down apparently didn't stop.
It was night. Perhaps the driver did not know he had hit me.
I think that's hardly likely.
You don't mean the police think it was not an accident?
You'd better ask the police that. Mr. Constance, we don't know very much about you, and your hotel wasn't able to help us.
Oh, naturally, I've never stayed there before. My name is Charles Constance. I'm 42 years of age. I'm a bachelor. I now live in Neuilly, a small suburb of Paris. In my profession, I'm a sporting journalist. I also smoke incessantly, when permitted.
At the moment, you're not permitted.
Tell me, how long will it be before I'll be able to leave and smoke again?
Oh, a couple of weeks, maybe 3. Depends on how you get on.
I'll bet you £20 I'll be out of here in 10 days.
We'll see. I was asked to give you these.
Oh.
Flowers.
Thank you. They come from your national health?
Oh, this is a welfare state, not a luxury state. Sorry about the broken bit, but they were like that when Miss Freeman left them.
Miss Freeman?
Yes, the young lady who brought them.
There must be some mistake. They must be for some other patient.
No, Miss Freeman gave them to me personally and asked me to give them to you.
But I don't know anyone called Freeman. Why should a complete stranger send me flowers? What did she look like, this girl?
Well, she was dark, medium height, good looking, lovely eyes. But you must know her.
I assure you, I've never set eyes on the young lady. Was she English?
Yes, at least I should imagine so.
And attractive?
Yes, very, very attractive. Attractive.
Well, imagine who this Miss Freeman could be. I'm sorry, Mr. Fenton.
No, Mark, I'm afraid we haven't got very much further. When Sergeant Lewis took his statement, Constance was emphatic that it was just an accident, so what can we do?
I suppose you've checked about him being a French sporting journalist. I see. Then the telephone call that presumably came from the hotel Seton still remains unexplained.
So do a lot of other things, including the equally mysterious Miss Freeman. You know, Mark, you ought to let me know about her when she first turned up, especially as I actually saw her.
Well, it never struck me. After all, she didn't tell me anything about Constance. Of course I described her to him. No, man. Brown eyes, not green.
Oh, what an observant chap you are, Mark. But here's a tip for you. Never hold anything back from the police, even for the brightest of brown eyes.
Come in.
I do not wish to disturb you, Doctor. Just to say goodbye.
That's quite all right, Mr. Constance. Come right in. Sit down.
Well, we'd better be getting along now.
Goodbye, Johnny.
Goodbye, sir, and thanks awfully.
That's all right. Take care of that leg of yours, won't you?
Yes, sir.
It was nice meeting you, Johnny.
Thank you, sir.
Nice kid. Cigarette, Mr. Constance.
Oh, thank you.
Just to make up for all those I wouldn't let you smoke before.
It is very kind of you. Well, I was right. It is just 10 days and I'm leaving.
But you're leaving much too soon.
I know, but I'm leaving just the same.
If it weren't for the fact that we needed the bed so badly.
Ah, please do not worry about me. I can manage.
All the same, I'd feel happier if you were to come back just for a check-over.
All right, Mr. Fenton. When?
Next week.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, Wednesday at 2 o'clock.
Wednesday? That'll suit me fine.
And you will remember you're not 100% fit, won't you?
I will.
Lucky for you, Mr. Constance, this new drug penomycetin was available. If it weren't for it, you wouldn't be leaving here today.
That is true. I want to thank you for everything you've done for me. I'm very grateful to you.
Oh, that's all right. Perhaps you do something for me. Answer a personal question.
Of course.
This young lady that left those flowers for you, Miss Freeman, is it really true you don't know who she is?
I'm afraid so, Mr. Fenton.
You have no idea where she comes from, where she can be found now?
None whatsoever, I'm sorry. I'm as anxious to meet her as you are to see her again.
Very well, Mr. Constance. Next week, then.
Mr. Fenton, may I ask you a favor?
Well, what is it?
I would like to leave this letter with you until I see you on Wednesday next.
All right, if you really want to.
You may think this silly of me, but you see, I do not want to post this. Not if everything is going to be all right.
Now, look here, Mr. Constance. Just because I asked you to come back for a checkup is no reason to suppose you're going to drop down dead or something. If you take good care of yourself, you'll be just as well as you've ever been.
Thank you. But I would still like to leave the letter with you.
Very well.
If by any chance anything should happen to prevent me from coming to see you here next Wednesday, perhaps you'd be kind enough to post the letter. I'm afraid I haven't got a stamp.
Oh, that's all right. Next Wednesday without fail, then, eh?
Thank you. Perhaps I could do you a favor in return. Would you like to make some easy money?
Well, who wouldn't these days?
There's a horse called Miesta running in the 3:30 race at Kemphurst Park on Wednesday next. Believe me, it is a certainty.
It won't be if I back it.
It can't lose. Au revoir.
No, Mr. Fenton. We haven't seen him since he was discharged, just over a week ago.
He was due back today for a checkup.
Well, he's not been in.
Oh, well, I'll be off home. If Mr. Constance should turn up, you might tell him I posted his letter, will you? He'll understand.
Yes, sir.
Have you got a stamp?
I'm afraid I haven't, sir. Fred, can you oblige Mr. Fenton with a stamp?
Lovely.
Take a winner, Fred?
Yes, I did indeed, sir, and 20 to 1 at that.
What was it?
3:30 at Kemphurst, Miesta.
Miesta?
Yes, sir. Nothing about it, sir.
Yes, I was given a tip for Miesta.
You didn't do it?
No.
Oh.
Well, have you got a stamp?
No, sir, I'm very sorry to say I haven't.
Have you any idea where Dranston Court is, then?
Yes, sir, it's just off the Cromwell.
About 5 minutes walk from here.
Oh, good. I'm going that way. I'll drop it in. Good night.
Good night, sir.
Anyone at home?
Scotland Yard. It's urgent. Scotland Yard? Detective Inspector Bellamy. And hurry, please. It's his brother-in-law, Mark Fenton, speaking. George? Now listen carefully. I'm speaking from Dranston Court. That's a block of flats off the Cromwell Road. Yes. Remember that man Constance, whom you... That's right. Well, George, he's been murdered. I'm reasonably certain. In one of the flats here, number 27. No, I haven't touched a thing, nor spoken to anyone. All right. I'll hang on and see that no one goes in the flat until you arrive. Right. Miss Freeman.
Mr. Fenton, this is a surprise. Do you live here?
No, I came to see someone, a Mrs. Kelsey.
Mrs. Kelsey?
Why, do you know her?
She's my sister, Lynn.
Your sister?
Yes. But you look so serious. Has anything happened?
Your friend Charles Constance is dead. He's been murdered upstairs in your sister's flat. I've just telephoned the police. They'll be here in a few minutes.
Is Lynn all right?
Yes, at least I think so. She wasn't in the flat.
You mean it was you who found him?
Yes. Look, there's something I want to ask you before the police get here. Those flowers that you brought to Constance in the hospital were in the shape of a broken horseshoe. Well, the same design of a broken horseshoe is drawn on the mirror of the flat upstairs.
How did you know my sister lived here?
I didn't. All I knew was that Mrs. Kelsey lived here.
Why did you want to see her?
Well, a week ago, when Constance left the hospital, he left with me a letter addressed to a Mrs. Kelsey at this address. If he didn't show up for a checkup today, I was to post it.
Why didn't you?
I decided to deliver it personally.
Have you still got it?
Yes.
Well, then give it to me and I'll see my sister gets it.
I'm afraid I can't. The police will have to. Besides, it isn't really a letter. All it contained was this.
What is it?
It's a railway ticket from Victoria to Dover.
Why should Charles Constance send my sister a railway ticket?
Supposing you tell me.
What are you going to do? Hand me over to the police?
I don't want to hand you over to anyone. It's up to you whether you go to them before they come to you.
That's the trouble. There's nothing I can say to the police. Not yet. It's outside my control. I'm just desperately worried, that's all.
Listen. You've got to believe that I want to help you. I'm not a policeman. I'm just someone who happened to get involved in this affair.
Then stop getting involved, Mr. Fenton. Believe me, it's not worth it. No one can help me unless...
Unless what?
No, it would make it worse for you, much worse.
What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, if you'd like to meet me later this evening, I could tell you about the broken horseshoe.
Why later?
You said the police would be coming. I must leave here before they arrive.
Where shall I meet you?
Do you know a little restaurant called Pinelio's in Greek Street?
Yes.
I'll be there at 10 o'clock.
All right. Pinelio's at 10.
If you really want to help me, don't tell the police about
I'll try and keep you out of it, at least until after we've talked.
I wasn't just thinking of myself. Don't tell the police about the letter and the railway ticket.
I'll have to. How else can I explain my visit here?
Don't tell them yet. Not until after we've talked. After all, it's only an hour or two. Please.
All right.
Someone's had a nice picnic here by the look of things. Louis, look round the rest of the flat.
Yes, sir.
Did you examine him?
Only very briefly.
How long would you say he'd been dead?
Under an hour. Of course, it's always difficult to...
What is it, Mark? What's up?
Nothing. I caught sight of myself in the mirror. I look a bit of a ghost.
These things are a shock when you're not used to them. Now tell me, how do you fit in?
Well, it's quite simple, really. I had a message from Constance saying he hadn't been feeling too well. Would I drop in this evening and look him over? When I arrived, this is what I found.
Was he a friend of Mrs. Kelsey's?
I don't know. I suppose he must have been.
How do you know the flat belongs to Mrs. Kelsey?
Constance told me.
You've never seen her?
No, never. The flat was empty except for Constance.
You should see the bedroom, sir. It's even worse than here. Well, someone's certainly been searching for something. You've no idea what it was?
No, of course not. Why should I?
Check on the rest of the flats, Louis. And tell Harper to send up the doctor and Foxley as soon as they arrive.
Yes, sir. Cigarette?
No.
Well, what happens now?
Oh, usual routine. We wait for the police doctor and Foxley, the fingerprint man.
Funny. I always thought there'd be a crowd of people milling around, taking photographs, checking fingerprints, asking questions.
Oh, it comes later. Still, we mustn't disappoint you. Let's start with the questions. You ever seen that girl again, Mark?
What girl?
The girl who brought the flowers to Constance. Miss Freeman. Can you describe her?
But you saw her yourself at the hospital.
Would you say this was the same girl?
Good heavens, no.
Well, women can easily disguise themselves, different hairstyles.
It certainly isn't Miss Freeman.
You're sure?
I'm quite certain of it.
The doctor's here, sir, and Mr. Foxley. I'll be up in a minute.
All right, thank you.
Do you need me anymore, George?
Oh, I thought you might be interested to see how the wheels go round.
Well, I would have liked to, but I've got one or two things I want to do.
You want to get back to the hospital?
No, to my flat.
All right, Mark.
Thanks.
Mark, you've told me everything. There's nothing else, nothing you've forgotten.
No, I don't think so, George.
Well, if you do remember anything, you can always give me a ring.
Yes, of course. Good night.
Good night. Loudon. There are two sets of prints on this photograph, mine and Mr. Fenton's. Tell Mr. Foxley I want Fenton's checked with any prints found in the flat.
Yes, sir. Mr. Fenton's your brother-in-law, isn't he, sir?
Yes.
Hello? 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 Taxi! Victoria Station. First class single to Dover, please.
17 tons.
Oh, and I don't want today's date on it.
When do you want it for? Tomorrow?
No, the 22nd of January.
You mean January next year?
No, last January.
That's 3 weeks ago.
Yes, I know.
Well, even if I could stamp it January 22nd, which I can't, it wouldn't be any good to you.
Yes, I appreciate that, but...
When are you traveling?
I'm not traveling.
You're not traveling?
No.
Now, let's get this straight. You want a first-class single ticket to Dover dated January 22nd, but you're not going to Dover. Is that right?
That's right.
Look, if you're not going to Dover, you don't want a ticket dated January 22nd or any other date. You just don't want a ticket.
You don't quite see the point, you see.
Well, one of us doesn't, that's a certainty.
Well, just give me a ticket.
To Dover.
To Dover.
But you're not going to Dover.
No.
17 tons, please.
Leo's restaurant, Soho. Good evening.
Pinalios. Table for four. Or just these, sir? Yes, I have a table.
Thank you.
Right, Joe.
Good night, miss.
You won't be later than 10:30. Thank you, sir. Bye.
Good evening, Mr. Fenton.
Oh, good evening.
You don't remember me?
No, I'm afraid I don't.
Gallegos. Felix Gallegos.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course.
But you still don't remember me, eh? Look, won't you join me for an aperitif until your guest arrives?
Well, thank you, but my friend should be here any moment now.
Oh, but that's the benefit of this table. You cannot miss her.
Can I get you anything, sir?
Now, what will you have?
Well, all right, I'll have a Dubonnet.
Now, do sit down.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Gallegos, but I still can't quite place you.
No?
Were you ever a patient of mine?
No.
I've seen you in the hospital, perhaps.
No.
Well, where did we meet?
Shall we say, Dover, Mr. Fenton?
Your Dubonnet, monsieur?
Salut.
We haven't met, have we?
No.
Did Miss Freeman send you here?
Shall we say, I persuaded her to let me come in her place?
Why?
Because, Mr. Fenton, Della Freeman is in very serious danger.
With the police?
Yes. If they were to get possession of a certain something.
But I told her I'd say nothing to them until I'd seen her again.
Oh, and she appreciated your kindness so much. Unfortunately, though, there are other interested parties.
So it would seem.
You see, her safety depends upon that letter falling into the right hands.
But it was addressed to her sister.
She and her sister are both equally involved.
Do you know what was in the envelope?
I do.
Is this what you want?
It is.
Well, if it's really as vital to Miss Freeman as you say it is, Mr. Gallegos, I'm sure you'll understand why I must insist on handing it to her personally.
Miss Freeman only wants it to give to me. Because I am the one who can get her out of this trouble.
Excuse me, sir?
What is it?
Mr. Fenton is wanted on the telephone.
Me? Who is it?
No, the gentleman didn't say, sir.
No. All right, where is it?
Just in the alcove, sir.
Thank you. You won't go away, Mr. Gallegos.
I shall be here, Mr. Fenton. You can depend on that.
Hello.
This is Craig.
Craig.
We're in a jam here, Fenton. Turner's on emergency and he's got flu.
Oh, get hold of Robertson.
He's dining out somewhere and the idiot didn't leave a phone number.
I'll bet he didn't. I'm the idiot, not Robertson. All right, I'll be along in about a half an hour. Bye.
You see, Mr. Fenton, I am still here. Cheers.
I'm afraid I must return to the hospital.
Then we should get down to business right away.
I thought I explained I only do business with principals.
Mr. Fenton, I will give you £500 for that ticket.
£500?
Yes, in cash.
I warn you, it's just a plain, ordinary ticket from London to Dover.
I know, and my offer still stands. What do you say?
The ticket's yours, Mr. Gallegos, but not for £500.
What is your price, then?
The truth. Why Miss Freeman didn't come herself.
And if I answer that question, you will give me that ticket?
If you can prove that it's essential to Miss Freeman's safety that you should have it. All right, I'll give it to you. Otherwise...
Otherwise?
Otherwise, I'm going to do what I ought to do. Ought to have done at the beginning. I'm going to take it to the police.
The most vital thing to remember, Mr. Fenton, is that any mention of her connection with this business would finish her for good. Are you feeling all right?
No, I'm not.
Sit quiet. I shouldn't try to get up.
The room's going round and around.
Is there
there anything wrong, sir?
Mr. Fenton is feeling a little faint. Give him some ice water.
Very good, sir.
See that he drinks it.
Yes, sir.
He'll be all right again in a few minutes.
Oh, hello, Fenton.
Sorry I'm late.
Late for what?
Well, I did say half an hour when you phoned.
Are you all right, Fenton?
I feel terrible. What's that got to do with it?
Well, I didn't phone you.
You didn't phone me. But what about Turner?
Well, what about him?
You said he had flu.
Well, there is Turner. He doesn't know he's got flu to me.
Craig, this is absurd. It doesn't make sense. Of course you rang me just before I passed out.
Turner, you come up to your room and put your feet up. And next time, old boy, take a little more soda with him, hmm?
I see Dr. Craig's giving us some medicine.
That's right. I bet it's filthy stuff, too.
Never mind. Take it regularly and lay off the rest of the drink. Besides, it's bad for your figure.
Oh, so you've noticed my figure.
Yes. How much do you weigh now?
About 9 stone.
You don't look 9 stone to me.
I know. I've always carried my weight well. My boyfriend said... What do you mean I don't look 9 stone?
The card says 10 stone 7.
10 stone 7? I must look the size of a house.
Well, let's have a look at this neck of yours. We could put you on a diet, of course.
Ah, but you can't keep me on it, pet. It's chocolates that do it. I just can't resist chocolate.
Pity they're off the ration, eh?
Ration my foot. I never go short of them, as many as I want. You can always get anything in this town if you know your way around. If you want anything, just you let me know. Chocolates, whiskey, nylons for your girlfriend. Even a girlfriend if you want one.
Go on, I bet you're the most respectable woman in town.
Well, really, that's a queer thing to say to anybody.
Well, I think you're going to be pretty good. You won't have any more trouble there.
And I'm very grateful to you anyway. And don't forget what I said. If there's anything you want, just you let me know. Here's my address and telephone number.
That's right. Posted in Brussels this morning. You mean there's a chance I'll get it tomorrow? I see. First thing today after tomorrow. Right. Thank you. Well, George, what's the news?
That's what I come to ask you.
I'll have a cigarette and relax.
No, thanks. I come to see you officially, Mark.
What do you mean?
I'm hoping you may be able to amplify what you told me last night.
You mean about Constance?
You said that you touched nothing in the room when you found the body.
That's correct.
You're quite sure?
Of course I'm sure.
You also said that after you phoned me, you watched the flat as I asked you, and you didn't see anyone.
I've told you I didn't see a soul while I waited outside that flat.
You're sure?
Look, what's this mean? Don't you believe me?
No, I'm afraid I don't.
Now listen, George, I'm telling
Mark,
you.
don't be such a fool. This is a case of murder. By trying to cover up for a girl you hardly know, you're getting yourself badly involved.
Why am I involved?
You find the body, a man you know. Can't you see it's vital from your own point of view to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I've told you everything I saw and did in that flat.
And you deny touching it?
Yes.
All right. I've done all I can to help you.
I'm sorry, George. There's nothing I can do about it.
Listen, Mark. After you left, we went through every inch of that flat. And we found fingerprints near the dead man.
Well?
I showed you that photograph in order to get your fingerprints. We compared them with those we found on the dead man's lighter. They were identical. They were yours, Mark.
Mine? But that's impossible. I never saw a lighter.
It was lying on the floor beside him.
But it couldn't have been. I never even saw a lighter, I tell you. Anyway, I was wearing gloves when I was in the room. George, you've got to believe me.
It's not a question of believing, it's a question of hard fact. And here's another hard fact for you, Mark. The porter swears that a few minutes before we arrived, he saw you in the hall talking to a young woman. And his description of her tallies very closely with that of the Freeman woman. Oh, excuse me.
Yes, sir?
How long's that notice been up?
This one, sir?
Yeah.
Oh, a week or 10 days at least, sir.
You're sure of that?
Quite sure, sir. I put it up myself, Mr. Fenton.
Oh, thank you.
What's the matter? Are you all right?
It's nothing.
Or shall I get you a cup of tea?
No, thanks just the same, sister.
Why don't you go home?
Look, I'm all right. Just leave me alone, please.
Well, why don't you get into the armchair and put your feet up?
I don't want to put my feet up.
There's no need to bite my head off.
I don't want to bite your head off. All I want is a little peace and quietness. I don't seem to be able to get it here. I'm going home. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Fenton.
Oh, George, if a call should come through for me, I'll be in my flat after 7 o'clock.
Very good, sir. I'll tell Fred. Good night.
Well, if this lighter belongs to your brother-in-law, Bellamy, that explains his fingerprints being on it.
Exactly, sir.
But how did it come to be in the flat beside Constance's body?
That's the problem, sir.
You're quite satisfied it couldn't have, well, fallen out of his pocket as he bent over the body.
We lost it at least a week before. You'd have no difficulty in proving that, sir.
Well, then it must have been planted.
Yes, sir.
But by whom?
Well, my guess, sir, is that it's this Freeman woman.
Oh, but she didn't go into the flat.
According to Mark's story, she didn't. But I'm pretty sure he knows more about her than he's told us.
Oh, what makes you say that?
To be quite frank, sir, he's infatuated with the girl.
Oh. How long have you known Fenton, Bellamy?
About 15 years, sir. I've been married nearly 12.
And before this thing happened, would you have trusted him?
Good Lord, yes, implicitly.
Well, it's my experience that people don't change overnight. Either you were wrong about Fenton in the first place, or you're wrong about him now. Have another talk with him right away. Tell him if he doesn't come clean, he's for it.
Yes, sir. May I use your pen, sir?
Go ahead.
Get me Flaxman 06903, please. Thank you.
Hello. Yes, George. Well, if you like. Yes, I'll be in all evening. All right. I'll expect you when I see you. Bye.
How did you get in here?
Porter's master key. I managed to get it from his keyboard.
Why didn't you just come and see me in the ordinary way?
Well,
Did you think I'd tell the police?
partly that and partly...
Because of Gallegos.
Yes,
It was he who stopped you coming to Pinellios.
yes.
Are you married to him?
No,
Are you in love with him?
no.
He implied that you were working together.
He's trying to double-cross me.
And he said he wanted that ticket to give to you.
If he gets that ticket first, it's a finish for me.
If you're in danger, why don't you go to the police and ask for protection?
Because I've got to get that ticket before I can tell them anything. Have you still got it? The real one, I mean.
Yes.
What are you going to do with it?
I know what I ought to do with it. Take it straight to the police.
No. Please don't.
Then it's up to you to give me a few good reasons why I shouldn't.
Can I really trust you?
Trust me. Now, you listen to me. Ever since we first met, I've been covering up for you. My common sense has told me not to be a darned idiot and to go to the police and get it off my chest. But to help you, I've been getting further and further involved until now I'm #1 suspect in a murder case. And you ask me if you can trust me.
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I've got out of the habit of being able to trust people.
And it's about time you got back into it again.
All right.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'd like a drink. Would you?
Please.
Come and sit down. You'll find the switch for the fire on the right there. Cigarettes on the table.
Yes.
Would you like a glass of sherry?
Thank you.
Do sit down. You'll find this more comfortable.
Charming flat.
Thank you. So easy to get into, too. Well, here's to our next gay little encounter. Now, I think I'm due a few explanations, don't you?
First of all, I better tell you I lied to you.
In what way?
I haven't got a sister.
Then who is Mrs. Kelsey?
That was the name in which I took that flat.
The flat was yours.
Yes.
Then you must have known Constance.
Well, I hadn't actually met him, but I knew about him. You see, I belong to an organization known as the Broken Horseshoe.
Yes.
It's a secret organization for helping refugees escape from Poland and restarting them in life.
Surely there's nothing to be ashamed of in that.
Well, not in what we're doing, but the way it works is outside the law.
How do you mean?
It means supplying false papers, passports, and so on. There's currency smuggling, too. It means we have to work on our own. We can't get help from the police. We daren't.
Was Constance in this, too?
He was in charge, both here and on the continent. Then, later it got so big, it was decided to split France and England. I was to take over here. Constance was to hand over to me the details of the agents and general organization. And as a precaution, he had them carefully hidden. He wrote the name of the hiding place on the back of the railway ticket.
But wait a minute. The back of that ticket had nothing on it. It was blank.
It's written in the special chemical. It only shows when you put the ticket in water. Directly it dries, the writing fades again.
I see. Yes, I'm beginning to get the picture. Constance was on his way to see you when he was knocked down.
Yes, by Gallegos.
And where does Gallegos come in on this?
He works for the Polish Secret Service.
I see. And if Gallegos can get hold of the ticket, he could find out the name of the agents and smash the Broken Horseshoe.
Exactly.
Was it he that killed Constance?
Yes, but
But what?
he's threatening to tell the police that I did it.
But surely...
You see, I was there that evening before you were. I found Constance dead. When you saw me in the hall, you thought I'd just come. Actually, I was going. I was in the bedroom when you came in and found him.
Do you mean to say you were in the flat all the time I was there?
Yes. But don't let's talk about that now. The ticket's what matters. I've got to get that ticket before Gallegos does so that I can destroy the list of agents. So please, please help me to keep clear of the police till I've done that.
Don't you worry. I'll help you.
You've been wonderful to me. It was lucky for me that day I risked coming to the hospital.
Lucky for me, too.
All I brought you was trouble, trouble, trouble.
We'll get out of it. Won't be long now before you're in the clear.
You're the only one who can put me there. You've got the ticket.
I prefer to be loved for myself alone, you know.
Oh, one has to have a ticket for most things these days. It's in the flat?
The ticket? No, I'm afraid not. You see, I had a hunch that someone was going to try and get hold of it, so I put it somewhere where no one can get hold of it except me. The first post Saturday will...
Getting the first post Saturday?
Well, I'm a bit of a stamp collector. I have friends who are living outside.
What's that?
Oh, I wonder. It could be Inspector Bellamy.
Police?
Now, look, leave this to me. Wait here. And get rid of your glass. That you, George?
Yeah. Might be a minute, I'm in my bath.
Now, look, get behind the door, and as he comes in, you slip out.
All right.
We're gonna get in touch with you.
I'll phone you.
Tomorrow at the hospital?
Tomorrow.
Promise?
I promise.
Hello, George. Hello. You would arrive just as I get into my bath.
All right.
Well, have you come to arrest me?
No, not yet.
Good. Have a cigarette, then.
No, thanks.
Thanks. That's my lighter.
So I've gathered.
Well, where'd you get hold of it?
This mark was the lighter that was found by Constance's body.
But it couldn't be.
All the same, it was. Naturally, at first, we thought it belonged to Constance.
Now, look, George, I've told you before, there was no lighter beside Constance's body when I found him. Besides, I lost that lighter at least a week previously.
I know that.
Well, how could it get there, then?
There's only one answer. It was planted.
Planted? But that means someone's trying to incriminate me.
It does.
Well, who could it be?
What about the Freeman woman?
Oh, that's absolute nonsense.
How do you know?
Well, she just wouldn't do a thing like that, that's all.
Have you been in touch with her, Mark?
That's my business.
Recently? Have you fallen for her?
That's my business again.
Well, as far as I can make out, you're completely infatuated.
Well, what if I am?
Mark, for heaven's sake, be your age. Must I remind you again, we're dealing with murder. Now, tell me where I can pick her up.
I'll tell you truthfully, George, I haven't the remotest idea where you can find her.
That's really the truth, Mark.
Cross my heart. Hello. Yes? Yes, he's here. For you, George.
Thanks. Hello? Yes? Well? I see, all right. Thank you, West.
George, I was wondering if you and Jane wanted... Now, what's wrong?
You're a fool to let a woman you know nothing about string you along like this.
What on earth are you talking about?
That was one of my men. He tailed you from the hospital and has been on watch outside ever since you came in. He saw a girl leave the building a few minutes ago, and he's pretty sure it was the Freeman woman.
Oh, really, George, there are other flats in this building. I can't control who comes and goes.
Della Freeman's been here tonight, hasn't she?
Supposing she has been.
I must ask you once again to tell me where I can find her.
And I must tell you once again, I haven't the remotest idea.
Mark, for heaven's sake, don't you
Now,
realize...
listen, George. Today is Thursday. By Saturday, I may be able to give you quite a lot of information, but until then, I've got no option but to keep my mouth shut.
That's your final word?
That's my final word.
All right. The whole affair is now out of my hands. The superintendent will take what action he thinks necessary.
Thank you, Ness. Well, it looked to me as if you had your mind more on the clock than on the job.
It's perfectly straightforward. I could do that operation with my eyes closed.
Maybe. But you better remember what it looked like in the newspapers.
What on earth are you talking about?
The coroner added a rider that it's preferable for surgeons to operate with their eyes open.
Oh, excuse me, Dr. Craig.
Yes, ma'am?
Prescott's looking for you. There's a man to see you.
Well, is he a patient?
No, it's about a car. He's got it outside.
Has he, by Jove?
It's wonderful. A huge red one.
Well, if I buy it, I'll take it for a ride, will you?
Ah.
You buying a car?
That's the idea.
What are you using for money?
I backed me yesterday, old boy. Cleaned up, too. All being well, I collect tomorrow.
All right, I'll tell Mr. Fenton. Oh, just a moment. Here he is.
Who is it?
Miss Leroy.
Say a moment.
I can't. I've just said you come in.
Hello, Miss Leroy. Fine, thanks. How are you? Keeping off the chocolate sale. Tonight, oh, I'm afraid I couldn't possibly.
Now, listen. There's a friend of yours going to be here. No, I'm not mentioning any names. But it's someone who's very anxious to see you and who's going to ring you today. That's right. 9 tonight. Have you got the address? Yes. 413, it's right at the far end of Westbourne Terrace. And mine's the top flat, number 8. You ring the front door bell, and then I press a button up here, and it opens the door downstairs. Clever, isn't it? That's right. And don't be late. No.
Good evening, Miss Leroy. Miss Leroy.
What can you and Dr. Craig have put into that medicine? I see that it was dispensed at the hospital. So it will lead to some very awkward inquiries, won't it?
What do you want, Gilligas?
To return this ticket to you, my friend. It's not quite what I expected.
Pity.
May I have the real one?
I haven't got it.
Hand it over.
I'm not bluffing. I haven't got it with me.
You're in no position to bluff, Mr. Fenton.
Neither are you. You daren't use that gun.
Daren't use it?
Dead men don't talk. I'm the only one who knows where the real ticket is, even though I can't get hold of it at the moment.
When can you?
Maybe Monday?
I cannot wait till Monday. I'm bringing you tomorrow.
London won't seem the same without you.
But I made my arrangements, Mr. Fenton, because you said first post Saturday.
Who told you that? She wouldn't talk of her own free will.
It's so easy to make people talk if one just has the knack.
What have you done with Miss Freeman?
I'll make a bargain with you. Della Freeman in exchange for the ticket.
Oh, no. I'm not such a fool to fall for that one.
Very well. I will have to make other arrangements. Yes. Would you give me Flaxman 06114, please? Yes. Hello, St. Matthew's Hospital? Hall porter, please. Keep back, Mr. Fenton. You see, I know enough to be quite indifferent whether you are alive or dead. Hello, hall porter. I have a message for you from Mr. Mark Fenton. Yes, he will not be in tomorrow, so he will send around for his letters. Yes, he asks what time the post normally comes in. All right. He will have them picked up at 7:30. Good night. I don't think you will need the telephone. I'm afraid you will find Miss Leroy poor company. But then you should have a quiet night.
If you think you can keep me in here, you're mistaken. I'll shout the place down.
What? And have somebody find you here alone with Miss Leroy? You know, the police will begin to have unpleasant suspicions about a man who is twice discovered alone with a dead body.
Just a minute, please. What's the idea?
Nothing. I'm just coming out.
Well, I saw you climbing in. You're coming along to the station with me.
Jackie Leroy was a patient of mine, and she phoned and asked me to come round and check up on her.
Are you asking me to believe that this is a repetition of the Constance business?
I'm not asking you to believe anything. I'm merely stating the facts.
Why didn't you inform the police, as you did when you found Constance?
I didn't have a chance. The person who killed Jackie Leroy put the phone out of action.
Yes, but after you left the building.
Unfortunately, Superintendent, I was no longer a free agent.
Was Miss Freeman involved in this, too?
Now listen, George. Try and get this into your head once and for all that you probably know more about Della Freeman's movements than I do.
Get Miss Freeman a chair, Liz. Sit down, Mr. Fenton. Now, Miss Freeman, so far you've refused to answer any of our questions. Now, perhaps you'll change your mind. I must warn you that your refusal to speak puts you in a very serious position. However, recent developments look like clearing you of actual murder.
What developments?
The fact that we know the murderer. I'm applying for a warrant to meet you.
But who is it?
There he is.
He had nothing to do with it.
Well, of course I didn't.
Then who did?
Della, don't say anything.
Well, Miss Freeman?
Della.
Be quiet, Mark.
Well, first of all, I'd better tell you I'm tied up with the Broken Horseshoe organization.
The Broken Horseshoe?
Did you know this?
Yes.
Why in heaven's name didn't you tell me?
Well, at first it didn't mean anything to me. Then I couldn't without involving Miss Freeman. What with fake passports and papers and smuggled currency.
Smuggled currency?
George, even though it may mean breaking the letter of the law, you can't let a lot of red tape stop those Polish refugees from grasping at a chance to escape.
The Broken Horseshoe is a gang of racehorse dopers.
Racehorse dopers?
Was Miesta one of your jobs?
Miesta?
Constance was also one of the gang.
Yes, he ran things over in France. And later he came over here and started double-crossing.
How?
He tried to get hold of the next supply of drugs to use on his own.
Where did the drugs come from?
I don't know.
Of course you do. Come on, out with it.
I tell you, I don't know. No one knew, not even Gallegos.
Felix Gallegos, the bookmaker?
Yes. He ran things in this country, that is the practical side. But the real boss is the man who supplies the drugs.
How did Gallegos contact him?
It was the other way around. He contacted Gallegos. When a supply was available, he wrote the rendezvous and date on the back of a railway ticket and sent it to Felix.
You mean the old trick, silver nitrate? Invisible when dry, only shows up when it's wet.
Yes, that's right.
And Constance managed to intercept it?
Yes.
And Gallegos killed Constance to get the ticket.
I think so. I don't know.
But he didn't get the ticket?
No. When Constance came out of hospital, he gave it to her.
Have you still got it?
No, I realized it was dangerous, so I put it in an envelope addressed to myself and sent it to one of my stamp correspondents in Brussels for posting back to me. It should arrive by the morning's post.
Good.
Not so good. Gallegos is having it picked up from the hospital in the morning.
Gallegos?
He was at Jackie Leroy's. He got onto it from something I said to Miss Freeman.
May I, sir? Get me Mr. Rattray at the General Post Office. It's urgent.
Sergeant Lewis.
Yes, sir?
Take Miss Freeman into the other room and get a full statement, please.
Yes.
George, that girl's not a crook. Surely to heaven you've got the sense to realize...
There's her record, Mark.
What?
It's a police record. In 1949, at Cannes, France, sentenced to 2 years detention for fraud. Hello, Mr. Rattray.
Well, that's the letter, all right.
Oh, good. Well done, Mr. Rattray.
All this is terribly irregular, you know.
Oh, but the letter's addressed to Mr. Fenton, and this is Mr. Fenton. I can assure you of that.
Yes, but it's not his property until it's been delivered.
Well, you're delivering it now.
But I can't do that. It must go through the normal channels and be delivered to the address marked on it. Till then, it's a post office responsibility.
Oh, but can't you stretch a point? All we want to do is to examine it.
It's quite beyond my powers. That's a matter for the permanent undersecretary, and he's been in bed for hours.
Oh, yes, of course, we mustn't disturb him. Well, look, you just sit there and have a cigarette.
No, thank you, I don't smoke.
You shall have the letter back again.
You mustn't tamper with it. That's illegal.
Now, if anybody spots that we've had a look at it, I'll eat your hat. I assure you, Mr. Rattray, you shall have the letter back again in plenty of time for it to be delivered first post to St. Matthew's Hospital tomorrow morning. February the 23rd, North Row Airport, last Paris plane.
Flight J32 from Copenhagen, due at 10:35, will be approximately 20 minutes late, owing to bad weather over the North Sea. Thank you.
Craig. Hello, Fenton. What are you doing here?
Well, I might ask the same of you.
Well, I'm meeting a friend of mine on the Copenhagen plane, and I've just been reported 20 minutes late. What are you doing?
Well, I'm down here with my brother-in-law.
Not that policeman.
Yes, he just came out to pick up a friend.
Well, look here, we're wasting time. The bar's still open.
No, not for me, thanks.
On the waterway?
No, I'll wait for George.
Uh-huh. Well, I've always told you I was allergic to policemen. See you later.
Yes.
We've got Gallegos, and he's got the stuff on him. At least I'm pretty sure it's the stuff.
Good. What's it look like?
A sort of greenish-white powder.
That'd be it, all right.
But we didn't get the chap who passed it to him blasted.
Now, listen, George, I've been thinking. Penomycetin's still very scarce. All the supplies go straight to the hospital.
This little lot seems to have slipped through all right.
No, not of necessity.
Mark, I'll be back in a minute. I just want to check with West that no one was waiting for the bus.
Craig, I'd like to have a word with you.
Fire away, old boy.
In private.
Well, let's go and sit over, shall we?
All right.
matter of interest, have you bought that car yet?
I shall, on Monday.
Hope you don't think it rude of me, but how much you going to pay for it?
I don't mind telling you, old boy, because it's the best bargain I ever came across. $650.
$650. On the Never Never?
No, sir. Cash down.
Beats me how you do it. Of course, some people seem to have a natural talent for making money. They make it out of the oddest things, too. Vacuum cleaners, scrap metal, waste paper, broken horseshoes.
What the devil are you talking about?
Expensive stuff, penomycetin, isn't it? Especially when it's under the counter.
Have you gone crackers?
I'm just beginning to see how simple it all is. You have access to the lab, you do the experimenting with the stuff. How simple to cover up any that's missing. And it doesn't take much to dope a racehorse.
Look here, gentlemen.
That's coming all very clear now. It must have been you who pinched my lighter and planted it beside Constance's body so as to implicate me and clear yourself. Must have been you, too, who cleaned off that mirror and then tipped off Galegas.
I don't know what you're talking about. Who is this Galegas?
He's the one that my brother-in-law came down to pick up, and he had a neat little packet of penomycetin in his pocket. If you're relying on a rat like Galegas to hold his tongue, you'd better think again, Craig. You're going to get just what you deserve.
Flight J32 from Copenhagen is now approaching the airport preparatory to touching down.
There he goes! Cut him off. Down with that. Come.
Tell me, George, how long do you think that girl will get?
Oh, I'd have guessed 5 years at least. You see, it's accessory after the fact on a murder charge. I'm sorry about all this, Mark. It's hit you pretty hard, isn't it?
Oh, that's all right. Chalk it up to experience, I guess.